Genesis 1 verse 28. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Usually, when mentioning the descendants of Adam and Eve, the first thought that occurs to people is the story of Cain and Abel. Too often, however, they forget the other biblical narratives that describe the other sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. In this video, I'm going to focus my attention specifically on the daughters of Adam and Eve. Who were these daughters and how many of them were there? Using sources such as the Book of Jubilees and the Holy Bible, I will explore and discuss the story of these daughters of Adam. The untold story of the daughters of Adam and Eve, a topic that is rarely discussed and often overlooked by theologians, biblical scholars, and even those curious about the Holy Scriptures. The mystery surrounding the daughters of Adam and Eve is often ignored. People often read the Bible and focus on Adam and Eve's best-known children, Cain, the firstborn, and Abel, the second. However, they often forget that Adam and Eve had many daughters. As the biblical text in Genesis chapter 5, verses 4 and 5 reveals intriguing information about Adam's sons and daughters, mentioning that after the birth of Seth, Adam lived 800 years during which he fathered sons and daughters, totaling 930 years of life until his death. The Bible does not provide the names of the daughters of Adam and Eve, but there are other texts from ancient Jewish traditions that specify some of their names. Thus, based on the Book of Jubilees, I will mention the names of some of Adam and Eve's daughters according to these ancient Jewish traditions that offer perspectives on these lesser-explored figures. For those who aren't familiar, the Book of Jubilees, also known as the Little Genesis due to its connection to the word Jubilee, which means joy, is part of the apocryphal Old Testament. It narrates the creation of the world, the formation of Adam and Eve after the fall, and tells stories of various characters from the Old Testament, especially from the Book of Genesis. Although not a recent text, the oldest manuscript we have access to dates back to approximately 700 years before Christ. However, this manuscript is a copy of an even older work. Some scholars associate the Book of Jubilees with the Book of Chronicles, suggesting that the scribe Ezra may have written it. The Book of Jubilees states that its true author was Moses, who received a revelation from an angel on Mount Horeb. It is important to mention that the Bible states that Moses spent 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Horeb without eating or drinking water in the presence of God. Historically, due to the antiquity of the text, we cannot rule out the possibility that Moses was the actual author of the Book of Jubilees. The Book of Jubilees enjoys a significant presence in Israelite culture, with several copies distributed among the people. In addition, he mentions another mysterious apocryphal book, the Book of Enoch, which was widely known to the early Christians and was even part of the biblical canon used by them. This highlights the importance of not dismissing the Book of Jubilees, as it contains events that align with the stories in the Bible. Now, going back to Adam and Eve, according to several ancient Abrahamic Semitic traditions, Adam and Eve's first daughter was named Aven. Aven in Hebrew and Phoenician means potency or simply vice. She was the wife and sister of Cain, who was also the son of Adam and Eve according to the Book of Jubilees. She had children by Cain, and one of those sons was named Enoch. The building of a city in honor of his son is mentioned in the Bible as one of Cain's accomplishments after his banishment due to Abel's murder. The city was named Enoch in honor of his son. The name Aven is mentioned in the Book of Jubilees and other Abrahamic texts, but in some of these texts, such as the Cave of Treasures, she is called Shelema. Therefore, Kelema was the wife of Cain and the first daughter of Adam and Eve according to these traditions. According to various ancient Semitic traditions, Adam and Eve's second daughter was Asherah. Asherah was the wife of Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve, born after Abel's death. The name Seth has etymological roots in Hebrew, and its meaning may be associated with the idea of compensation or substitution. This is relevant because, after Abel's murder by his brother Cain, Seth is regarded by Adam and Eve as a replacement for divine compensation for Abel's loss. He is seen as a righteous and godly descendant, and it is to his lineage that the biblical narrative suggests that mankind continued to worship God. Therefore, Seth and his wife Asherah were a link in the genealogical chain that connects the creation of mankind to later events and to important figures in the Judeo-Christian tradition. The Book of Jubilees features an interesting detail, stating that Asherah was initially Abel's wife and was widowed after his death. When Seth grew up, he married Asherah, and from this union came the line of Seth and Seth himself, who became the initial patriarch of that line. The Book of Jubilees informs us that Asherah was born in the 6th week of the 4th Jubilee and married her brother Seth in the 5th week of the 5th Jubilee. In the 4th year of the 6th week, she gave birth to a son and named him Enosh. Subsequently, after growing up, he was married in the 3rd week of the 7th Jubilee to Nomi, who was his sister and also the daughter of Seth and Asherah. Enosh is one of the sons of Seth and Asherah and is known for his godly descent and devotion to the worship of God. The main reference to Enos in the Bible is in Genesis 5, verses 6 to 11, which describes his genealogy as follows. When Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Seth lived a total of 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. After he became the father of Kenan, Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. And altogether, Enosh lived a total of 905 years, and then he died. The main characteristic attributed to Enosh is his practice of prayer and the indication of God's name. The next verse in Genesis 4, verse 26, states that at that time people began to call on the name of the Lord. This passage suggests that Enos played an important role in promoting worship and devotion to God in his time, marking a period of spiritual and religious searching among the descendants of Seth. Therefore, according to the ancient Book of Jubilees and Semitic Jewish tradition, Cain married his sister Aven and gave birth to the line of Cain. Seth, on the other hand, married his sister Asherah and gave birth to the line of Seth. You may be wondering how many sons and daughters Adam and Eve had. The biblical text indicates that they had many sons and daughters, especially considering that Adam lived to be over 800 years old. In fact, Adam and Eve were the most fertile human beings of their day. Eve, like the first woman, was extremely fertile, and Adam was also very fertile. Therefore, according to these ancient traditions, they had hundreds and hundreds of sons and daughters throughout their lives. However, what I want to emphasize is that Eve surpassed all these women in fertility, being considered the most fertile woman in human history. Therefore, if a woman today, or even 100 years ago, was able to give birth to about 69 children, we can only imagine what Eve achieved as she lived much longer, reaching the staggering age of 900 years according to the biblical narrative. Also, according to traditions, Adam and Eve had numerous children, estimated to be around 70 or even more, according to some speculations. Considering their robust health, strength, and fertility, as well as the context of the time that favored procreation, it is possible that they had hundreds of sons and daughters. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 1, it is mentioned that as Adam's descendants multiplied on earth, many beautiful daughters were born. A less mentioned curiosity is that both the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve had their own ethnic descent, as Adam and Eve were originally of mixed race. This has contributed to the ethnic diversity of humanity, which, although it exhibits numerous ethnicities and races, all share a common origin in Adam and Eve. The study of mitochondrial DNA, known as mitochondrial Eve, reinforces this idea, indicating that all of humanity shares the same ancestry, despite the ethnic and racial diversity we see in the world today. Therefore, mitochondrial genetic study revealed that all people descend from the same woman, contributing to ethnic and racial diversity, all sharing a common connection with our ancestors. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of faith and storytelling. If you found value in our discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more profound insights into the sacred narratives that have shaped our world. Until next time, may your path be illuminated by the eternal light of guidance. Blessings to all.